Coming out of the red corner from Team Tiger Schulmanns, wearing the white Tiger gear from East Brunswick, New Jersey. Welcome, please, Brandon, the Mechanic, Cuttino.
This is Unfiltered on the Fighters First Network. Of course, I'm your host, Mike Ginn. Joining me this episode is somebody you may be very well aware of if you've been following our evolution of Fighters First, from Art of MMA to Fighters First and the growth. You know, my guest this week has been part of that journey the whole time. Of course, I'm talking about the Mechanic, Brandon Cuttino, professional kickboxer. He's fought in some of the highest promotions like Glory Kickboxing. Of course, in the MMA world, you may know him as a member of the Tiger Schulmanns team. He's one of the teachers there. He's been a training and he's been a student there. He's been a little bit of everything over his career. He's been an amateur champion. He's been fighting professional now for several years. And on top of that, he's one half of the best MMA show on the planet, of course, Art of MMA. Talking about Brandon Cuttino. Brandon, thanks for taking the time, buddy.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we've been doing this thing for like a year, and I figured we got the interview show back again, and it's been forever since we've actually interviewed you, so I want to pick people behind the scenes, show people a little bit more about the Mechanic, show them why you're such a badass, and talk about your journey and share that with the world. So we're going to jump right into it. First and foremost, let's go back to the beginning a little bit. A lot of people don't know your story. They just know your personality from obviously being on the show for the last year. But let's start with your story. You're a Jersey guy, born and raised in Jersey. If people go back and read a couple of our old interviews, you know a little bit of this story, but I want you to kind of expand on it a little bit for me. Growing up, what really got you into martial arts to begin with? What made you fall in love with being a martial artist?
Oh, man, like I say, growing up as a kid, you know, man, you're watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You know, you got Bruce Lee. At the time, you know, had Power Rangers going on. So I was just really feeling the whole martial art vibe. I actually was a big fan. I remember actually, I want to say I was probably about like 6 years old. Like that's really when I was into Bruce Lee. My one of my uncles, you know, had me watching his movies. And I remember like a cousin of mine, she actually was doing, I think it was karate at the time. And I wanted to do it, but just I think with my mom's schedule, she wasn't able to get me there. So I wasn't able to do it. So one of my other uncles, he actually used to do martial arts as a kid. So basically, like over the weekends, what would happen was he would actually just take me down to his basement, and he would kind of just give me a little bit of lessons here and there. So I was learning martial arts from my uncle. I remember like it was me and like his two
like various techniques or like taekwondo or
I honestly I don't really even remember what it is that he had learned. But yeah, I just remember like it was just cool, and I just thought it was fun. But then we had moved from Newark because that's where I was raised at. But then we moved from Newark, New Jersey to like up here in like Saraville was the town, and then that's when we went to a mall, and that's when I found like there was a guy at a desk, and it was for a Tiger Schulmanns, and he basically was just like, oh hey, can you just stand still for a second? And I just did that, and he was like, "Oh, you'll be perfect. You know, why don't you come in and try out a class?" I did, and as they say, you know, the rest is history.
So you never did any martial arts before that? No taekwondo, no karate classes, just Tiger Schulmanns was the first gym you ever joined?
Yep, Tiger Schulmanns have been Tiger Schulmanns all the way through. Besides, like I said, just doing.
How old were you when you started that?
8 years old.
Oh, okay, so you've been with Tiger now almost 30 years now, 20 plus years. So, when you started out, and I know a little bit more of the story, obviously, than some people at home. But when you started out, were you just going to the gym closest to your house? I know at one point later in your evolution, you were doing multiple gyms. You were going all the way to Brick, and you were doing different things. But what were you doing in the beginning? Like, was it just like training on kickboxing? Was it training on MMA? Was it training on fighting in general? Like, because I know Tiger Schulmanns is being this universal gym, like where everybody kind of does everything. So when you're first starting out as an 8-year-old kid, what do they kind of throw you in? Like, what do they start you with?
So when I first started, it actually was like when I first started Tiger Schulmanns, at the time they were called Tiger Schulmanns Karate. And one of the things that I liked about Tiger Schulmanns was really it was a mixture of karate, aikido, and jiu-jitsu. So really they were doing MMA before it was known as MMA, but just everybody knew karate. So they just kind of went with the name until later on in the 2000s when MMA became big. That's when they changed the name to Tiger Schulmanns MMA. And then now basically everything going on, because there's always so many mixed martial arts and stuff. We just now it's just called Tiger Schulmanns Martial Arts. But in the beginning, it was karate, but it was Kyokushin karate. That was the style. It's the same as George St. Pierre did, growing up as a kid. Then, like I said, we did close range defense moves, which was really
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But it was really aikido because we were able to use our opponent's weight against them. That's really what aikido is. And then later on, we had started doing some jiu-jitsu as well.
Yeah, around that age, I was doing taekwondo, hapkido. I was doing a variety of things. I loved hapkido because you had that combination. It was almost like judo and karate together, and you were kind of like mixing up the techniques, and you were able to get a little bit more hands-on. And as somebody who, much like yourself, grew up as a wrestling fan, like being able to actually grab somebody and hit them and stuff, it was a lot better. But there was also a lot of leverage involved and a lot of technique involved. So it was more than just what it appeared to be. It was actually one of my favorite things. I actually quit taekwondo to go full-time to hapkido at that point. So it was something I actually enjoyed more. And I can only imagine Tiger at that age, 8-year-old kid coming in, and here you are, like your kids might be learning, your friends might be learning taekwondo, but you're learning like all these different techniques, and it gives you a little bit, I don't want to say bragging rights, but it gives you a little bit more versatility when you're doing certain things. But was karate and martial arts the only thing you did as a kid? Like, did you play any other sports? Did you go like through high school playing baseball, basketball, football, anything like that? I know you're a big football and hockey fan now.
In high school, I'm trying to think really. When did I get? Actually, no. So really, when I moved. When we moved to Sergio, that's actually how I got into hockey. I remember when I was going to a school, some kid had asked me like, "Oh, what's your favorite hockey team?" And to be honest with you, I didn't know anything about hockey. I did know of the New York Rangers, but that's because that was the year that they just won the Stanley Cup. So I was watching a network and they kept on showing the rerun. So I remember just telling him the New York Rangers, and he just straight flipped on me. It was like, "What? You like the Rangers?" And he was just going off. He goes "No, man, New Jersey Devils, best team ever, blah, blah, blah." And so when he said that, I was like, all right, you know what? Let me go watch a Devils game. And I think the first ever Devils game I ever watched on TV was the Devils Rangers game. I was hooked ever since, became a hockey fan. So I kind of started to get into watching that and playing that. I was doing it, just with friends. But then during high school, our high school didn't have a team. So around us, we actually had to go into we had to go join leagues, but we didn't actually have a ice rink around us either. So really what was big around us was actually roller hockey. So I played that during high school. I actually did track my freshman year. I did long distance, doing the mile, 2 miles. That was really about it. It was just hockey. And then just Tiger Schulmanns after my freshman year. I remember I had thought about joining the wrestling team in high school. I had in my head I want to do the wrestling team. But then I think just when it was. I just tell you the reason. The reason why I really didn't do wrestling, because I remember DBZ was, I think, happening at the same time wrestling practice was happening. Dragon Ball Z, big anime fan of Dragon Ball Z. So I was like, nah, you know what? I'm good. I'm just gonna watch Dragon Ball Z instead of doing high school wrestling.
It's kind of funny because it's almost the opposite of like the Kung Lee story. Like if anybody watches a former episode of this with Kung Lee last episode, he was in high school and he had a choice. He was trying out for the football team, and the coach, his wrestling coach, pulled him aside. He's like, you can do both and you can be good at both, but do you want to be good or do you want to be great? And it's kind of ironic because you had a more oh God, I don't want to offend people at home, a more nerdy reason, a more geeky reason for not doing the wrestling, but it actually paid off for you because it allowed you to be more great at doing the martial arts. So it actually paid off for you a little bit. Now, back to Tiger Schulmanns a little bit. So you're coming up, you're growing up. Did you attend college or did you just kind of stick to martial arts at that point?
No, so one of the things that I liked about Tiger Schulmanns was because I remember when my senior year came, I wasn't sure really what I wanted to do. If I wanted to stick, with training or if I did want to go off to college. Because I remember there was another guy, he was a couple of years older than me. I remember asking him like, hey, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to college or are you going to like stick around? Because like I said, one of the things about Tiger Schulmanns is like I said, you could become an instructor. Then maybe eventually down the road, if you want to, you can get your own school. So I wasn't sure if that was really, the path that I wanted to do or if I wanted to go to college, so I think I started to think about myself, what it is that I really wanted to do growing up, and then I thought to myself, well, hey, you know what, maybe if I do want to get a school, well, I should probably, maybe like learn how to, be a little business savvy. So I was like, you know what? Yeah. Let's go to, college. I majored in marketing. I got a concentration in operations management. So this way, like I said, I always thought to myself, like, oh, I could be able to market myself if I go in for marketing. Also, too, I just remembered, growing up, good old Jerry Maguire, the Rod Tidwell character, when his wife went off and it's like, oh, promotion, you got to have the sneaker, you got to have the drink, you got to have the shoe. So that stuff was always in my head about like, being able to market yourself anyway, later on down the road. So that's why I went to marketing. Also, too, it was just one of those things too, where I was like, you know what, let me get away from home. Let me get some life experiences, meet some new people from different cultures, religions, everything like that. So I decided to go to college. I remember my freshman year during the breaks, during the summer, transitioning, going from freshman to sophomore, I did come back and I would train, whenever I came back home. But then after sophomore, junior, senior year, I kind of just stayed up at college. That way I could just kind of get the whole college life.
So at that point, you've gotten through college. I guess you've been in Tiger Schulmanns about 14 years at this point, 12, 14 years at this point. At that point, are you doing the teaching and stuff like that, or are you just strictly at this point looking to compete? No,
neither. So wait, are you talking about while I'm in college, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just thinking about just college, just living the college life.
Did you quit martial arts for a while?
Yeah, I guess you want to say
kind of like pulled it back a little bit.
Well, no. So basically, I want to say I took a break because basically, where I went to school at Johnson and Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island. So I was all the way up. Yeah, exactly. So I was all the way up in Rhode Island. So it's not like I could come back down to New Jersey and train or anything like that. So yeah, I was kind of just enjoying the life. Then of course around that time, of course, that's where The Ultimate Fighter comes out. Boom, you're watching The Ultimate Fighter. I'm like, oh, hey, what's this? I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Hey, Chuck Liddell, cool dude. Forrest Griffin, all right, I like him. Watching fights. I'm watching with friends and stuff like that. So yeah, I kind of want to say I think I maybe got the competing itch during college. So in college, I actually joined a fraternity called a Sigma Alpha Mu. And so basically, like, a couple of guys, just being guys, we used to like wrestle, grapple. Basically, I'm just straight choking dudes out left and right, making it look easy, make it look easy on these dudes. And so it was kind of like, oh, and then of course, the boys, the boys hyping you up like, oh man, you should do this. as I'm like, I'm thinking about it, but as I'm just like kind of like, just fooling around with these dudes, rolling around with them, choking them out. I'm kind of like, hey, you know what, maybe. And it's a funny thing is because like I remember one of my brothers, like, he didn't really know my like extensive training growing up. So he basically thought I was just, some like jujitsu guy. But he was just like, oh man, if we did hands, man, I would definitely smack you up. And in my head, I'm just thinking like, yeah, if only you knew, but it never happened. I remember one time my one buddy, my real good fraternity brother, he actually lives here in New Jersey as well. He used to wrestle in high school. And I remember, man, we made this big like event out of it. So I think one of our other brothers, he used to work at like a JCC. So it was basically like, like a gym and everything like that. So he basically
community center.
Yeah. So he basically got the gym for us for that whole night. And I remember, man, it was hilarious because my boy was he used to wrestle. He was getting himself hyped up and he was warming himself up. And everybody was like watching him and they were getting all gassed up. Like, oh man, I don't know, Brandon, man, you might be in trouble. I'm just smiling like, okay, let's see what happens. So then we go and like, they ring the bell, whatever that they do. I think I take them out in like 30 seconds. I was like, hey, what's up? But it was just fun though. Like that's just doing stuff in college. But that's where I kind of started to get the itch.
Where you got the itch?
Yeah, like, oh, you know what? Maybe this could be something I might want to do. So then I graduated. Tried to do the real world thing for a bit. Go around. Like I said, I got a major in marketing. I was like, let's just see, where this goes or anything like that. And then basically what happened was I was working down in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I knew that there was a Tiger Schulmanns there, but I just wasn't able to ever go check it out. So then the marketing company I was at, they had opened up a new location up in North Jersey, up in Hackensack. So I remember one time I got out of work early in Hackensack and I knew that there was a Tiger Schulmanns right there. It was legit, like basically like across the parking lot. So I could just walk from my job over. And I remember I just walked in one night and when I walked in, the sensei there, the instructor there, I recognized her because I knew her from when I was growing up as a kid because she was at the school that I was at in Middletown. So I recognized her, said hi when we had a talk, and I was just like, yeah, I'm thinking about, coming back to training. And she was like, hey, we're here, whenever you're ready. So I remember I just went to my boss. I told him, I was like, hey, do you think maybe like on these days I could just leave a little bit early, so I can go and train? And even my boss at the time, he got behind me. He was like, yeah, sure. We can do something called like, MMA Mondays, type of deal. So that's where like Monday I got to leave early. I think like Tuesday I got to leave early, or like a Wednesday, something like that. It was like more than one day. I just got to leave early. So I started training and I, of course, fell in love with it. And then I just remember like every day and then I remember just one night I was leaving the school and I guess they were doing what we call our instructor program, people who maybe want to be instructors one day. And I remember like I was kind of just I was kind of joking about it, but like I was just like, hey,
program. Is that what you're calling the Joshua program?
Yeah, the instructor program. And I was just like, hey, when can I do this? And she was just like, oh, bring a binder next week. And then boom, that was it. So I just enrolled into the instructor program, did that. And then of course I just found myself like while I was working during the day, all I could think about was just training, being at the school. And then I just remember it was a Saturday afternoon. I was working for like, we were doing something about like Home Depot, promoting them. And I just remember like while I was in the Home Depot, I was just like, yeah, today's my last day. I'm done. And I just remember when I went back to the office, I just told my boss, I was like, hey, thank you for, bringing me up here with you in North Jersey, but this isn't for me anymore. I want to go do this. And he was like, all right, good luck. And that was it. And then I've been back to training, teaching and everything like that. Because
what year was this?
What year?
Mm-hmm.
2000 and I want to say, 2007. 2007.
So about 14 years ago now.
2006 when I graduated. Yeah, I want to say 2007. But yeah, so the lady in Hackensack who I was learning under and everything like that, she actually left the Hackensack school. Her and her husband had opened up a school in East Hanover, New Jersey. So they had brought me in to come, work for them on a Saturday. So that's how I kind of got my teaching chops in with that, getting my first job. And she too was actually a professional fighter, because at the time, Tiger Schulmanns was with Chuck Norris's World Combat.
Can you say her name?
Melissa Bopp.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was she was a part of the fight team. She was, like I said, the team was with the Chuck Norris World Combat League, and she was actually the one who actually invited me to say, hey, you should come. You should come to, up to our headquarters, which is in Elmwood Park, and that way you can train with the fight team. So I took her up on her offer, came up, and then boom, like you say, the rest is again history, as I said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about that fight team. We're talking about Tiger Schulmanns includes some of the best MMA fighters in the world right now. A lot of just combat sports stars over the years. Of course, now we see names like Shane Burgos, Mike Trezano, Julio Arce, up-and-comers like Solomon Renfro, and stuff in the regional scene. But you were one of the ones that kind of went into like a slightly different direction. Like a lot of those guys are focused on MMA. You, while I know you kind of dabbled in MMA, and we can talk about that in a few minutes, you mainly stuck to kickboxing. You went over and you did some of the USKA stuff. You were a dual division champion in that one, both the Muay Thai and the leg kick champion. And you were an amateur for a very long time. I want to say up until 2017, you were an amateur?
No, 2016.
2016?
Yeah.
See, that's why we do these interviews, get these facts out. 2016, I know I've heard you say before you turned pro because it was just kind of the cool thing to do. Everybody else was going pro. He's like, why not me too? And ended up being a benefit. You got a pretty good record in professional kickboxing. While you're training, and this is kind of like my question is like, everybody always says iron sharpens iron, right? So you're training with some of these killers like the Shane Burgos and all these guys that are now like really doing well in the UFC. First of all, when you were training, were all those guys still there already, or did they come in later? And my first question is kind of how did the gym evolve? When the gym is evolving, like you said, it started off as a karate school, kind of evolved into all these other things, then became a full MMA school. When you're training under people like Tiger Schulmann, his brother Ron, stuff like that, and the gym is growing, were all those guys there, or did they all come in like much later?
Let's see. When I started training with the fight team,
when did it become like the competitive fight team that we know now?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess I really want to say when I got there, they like when I started training with them, they were already there because, like I said, they were already with the Chuck Norris World Combat League. Lyman Good was already there, as an up and comer. He fighting in ring of combat. We had some older people that were already there. Like Shannon Maceo. He was a big time kickboxer as well. So they already like had the team going. Like I said, when I was there, like I said, Jimmy Rivera was already there. Nick Pace was already there. Julio Arce was already there training. Luis Galdino, he was already there. Like I said, Lyman was there at the time. We even had, Uriah Hall, who was on the team. So I mean, we were already competitive. At that time, because like I said, they were already making their names on the regional scene, and then of course, Pace, he was the first one to make it to the UFC, and then I think Shane was there as well, and then came Trezano later and everything like that.
So you're training with all these guys. You're kind of like sticking in your lane a little bit. Like I know you dabbled in MMA, but and correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes the timing didn't work out for you. Is why you kind of stuck to kickboxing, right? Was it more
No.
like a timing issue, or was it just your passion was more in kickboxing?
No, so the thing I like to tell people is like, all right, I compete professionally in kickboxing, but I train and teach MMA, and I love it all. Like I love jujitsu. I love coaching it. I love teaching it. You know, I love watching it. You know, so basically what happened was really at the time was I was doing like the way like we do it in a certain way, like where we like to get people ready. It was like we'll start out with the kickboxing, you know, make sure that your stand up is right, and then usually what we do is we have people go do grappling tournaments, jujitsu tournaments to make sure that their ground game is good. Then now you can mix it up when you do MMA. So what happened with me was like I was doing kickboxing. Of course, I've been a big fan of kickboxing growing up. I used to watch the old ISKA events on ESPN2. I was watching kickboxing, back in those days.
I'll go a step further. Didn't you also grow up watching, like, I think you said at one point one of your favorite movies was Kickboxer, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie?
Exactly. Like, I always love to stand up. Even with Street Fighter, Ryu, and Ken. And even Sagat, the Thai boxer there.
Yeah.
But what happened was at the time, I remember actually I did have an MMA I did have an amateur MMA fight scheduled. But then what happened was I got yanked, I got pulled from the fight because basically at the time we were kind of, I guess you say the team was changing some things up where now was they basically wanted us to kind of get us win at a certain level for a jiu-jitsu tournament. So I just didn't do that. Like I was doing some grappling tournaments, but I didn't win, I guess, at the level that they wanted. So I was like, all right, fine, that's fine with me. It just gives me, just more time to practice and everything like that. But then basically what was going on was that I was going to these tournaments. I was doing the division that I was supposed to do, but at the time, then out of nowhere, like just there weren't that many people. So I wasn't getting that many matches. So like I was winning, but I was maybe going up against two people, or maybe it could have just been one person that day, or it could have been three people that day. So I really wasn't getting that many matches. And then I just realized I'm looking again, like, years are kind of going by. And then I think there was like two guys who I fought and they turned pro. And I was just like, well, if these guys are pro, why not me? And then I just thought to myself, like, well, even if I was to do MMA, what is my objective? To keep the fight standing up, so why not just have a stand-up fight? Like, cause again, like we're going to talk about later, but like the two guys that I looked up to in MMA, because I was like, that's the style that I want, is Carlos Condit and Donald Cerrone.
Yeah.
Both guys can strike. Both guys are good on their back. They can get those submissions if they're in their guard. So
both of them are very slick off their back.
Exactly. So that was going to be my same style. But again, like if you watch their fights, they're both trying to keep it standing up. So in my head, I'm just like, well, why not keep it standing up? And then I was just like, well, in kickboxing too, well, I can travel the world still if I want to. We got fights overseas, if you get it back in Japan again and everything like that, like how Glory and It's Showtime were doing and everything like that.
Do you remember your first opponent, like your very first like amateur kickboxing opponent?
I was just thinking about that the other day. I do remember the fight. I just don't remember his name off the top.
Did you win?
Yes, I did. I won.
You hesitated a little bit there.
No, because I heard somebody chirping in my ear. That's all.
Okay.
But no, yeah, I did. I won us easily, hands down, 3 rounds. Got that hand raised. It was cool. It was July. It was July of 2010. That's when I had my first amateur kickboxing fight in good old Hamburg, Pennsylvania, at the Hamburg Fieldhouse for USKA.
Nice. And so fast forwarding, because I remember in an interview we did with you a long time ago in Art of MMA, you said how you asked, I think Eric, who was our interview guy at the time, asked why you were doing 2 champions, like why you were a dual champion. And you basically said you wanted to win everything. You wanted to be the best at everything. And fast forward a little bit, and here you are now, a professional kickboxer, Do you remember your first pro fight?
Yeah, I remember it. I remember it was February of 2016, New York City. It was a Combat at the Capitale. It was a fight that, hindsight, I really shouldn't have done, but I just wanted to get that first pro fight in.
Were all your fights around 155 pounds? I mean, I know it's kgs as far as kickboxing goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
70 kgs. I got that right? 71?
Yeah. Yep. 70 kgs. Yeah.
Trying to do the math in my head real quick.
You're right. No, yes and no. There were a couple of fights where I fought at like 168, 170. But that's because of those fights.
You're a taller, rangier guy. Like,
yeah. Well. So the thing was, the reason why I go back to my first fight, my first pro fight, and why I say, I shouldn't have took that, was because that fight was at 155, and which is what I was doing as an amateur as well, or then I think I got smart and I would be like, oh yeah, let's go up a little bit of weight, because you have same day weigh-ins as an amateur. So the promoter, which I didn't really know at the time, that he did that, I think, was that for even pros, he still did same day weigh-ins. So basically, just like I did the weight cut, got to 155, and I just felt, I was just flat. I just got tired. Too much weight cut one day. Didn't really get the chance to really rehydrate and everything like that. So that's why my first professional fight, I took an L. But like I tell my students, man, you either win or you learn, and that's why I learned that day. I learned that day was that, hey, I can't, if I do same day weigh-ins, then I can't go down to 155. It has to be much higher, so this way I can still be fresh. And then after that fight, I had went on a 5-fight win streak.
Is that more of a thing in kickboxing? Like, do a lot of promoters do the same day weigh-ins in kickboxing, or is that just a thing that the Capital Group did in New York? I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name. Lou
Neglia.
Yeah. Is that just a thing that he did?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was something that he
like some of these glory events. They have like kind of like MMA, like where they have a weigh-in and then a fight night, right?
Yeah. Like say you weigh in, you weigh in Friday night, you fight Saturday, you weigh in Thursday, and fight Friday, whatever.
So you got time to refuel a little bit. I mean, I've always been kind of against the weight cuts. I think you fight more at a natural weight, then it's just healthier for the fighters. I get the advantages. People want to cut down. They want to try to, get every advantage you can in the game that's so dangerous. Fighting against somebody is not the easiest thing in the world. So, if you're naturally a 185 guy, you can go down to 155, make a weight cut, and then all of a sudden by fight night, you're at 175 or maybe even more because your body reinflates, so to speak. Like, I like the way some different people around the world do it, and now like one's doing a better healthy weight cut in different promotions around the world. And hopefully weight cutting always has been the bad thing about combat sports to me, because you see people hospitalized, you see people in different scenarios constantly getting hurt and injured and doing damage to their organs and everything inside them just to get the slightest advantage. And usually what is a razor thin close matchup between two people, a lot of these matchmakers around the world really put people together that are pretty right there, at least as far as they think in their minds. And then you see who's the better and the best of the best. When you were coming up and you did these professional fights, the last few years, obviously combat sports, like, legends like Ray Sefo, Mark Hunt, Crow Cop, some of these guys that were doing high level kickboxing, you fought on cards. We can talk about Glory in a second, but you fought on cards with like Alex Pereira, Cedric Doumbé, some of these other guys. Do you, I know you're kind of like later in your career at this point, you're in your mid 30s, but do you think on some level, because you never actually got to that level as like a top guy, do you think at some level you could compete with any of those guys on any night?
Oh yeah, of course. One guy.
Don't get shy now. You just called somebody out on Art of MMA.
Yeah, of course. I've always done that. Even when I was an amateur fighter, I would look at people and see how they were and just see what happened. Because one of the things, like Joseph Valtellini says it all the time. It's like, dude, if you ask a fighter if they think they could beat somebody, the answer is going to be yes. You know, they're always going to say yes to it usually. But I mean, but me, I'm a realist, man. I just look at, you know, who it is that you're asking me about, and I just think like I can still take it. Like even now, you know, at the age and everything like that, like I still think I still hang with people, no problem.
So you fought a Glory 33, you fought a Glory 55. Obviously, 55 had the stack card with, like I just mentioned, Alex Pereira, Cedric Doumbé. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Hey, man, don't forget, yo, Glory 33, baby, Rico Verhoeven, man, the king of kickboxing.
That's right, you had the heavyweight champion or future heavyweight champion at that point, because I don't think he was champion at that point.
No, he was.
Oh, he was? Okay.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Simon Marcus. Wait, man.
I do my research, but Brandon's way more.
I'm saying, man, dude, and Simon Marcus and Jason Wilness was on that card. Ooh, bro. Glory 33 was up. But I'll tell you this, man.
And both your Glory appearances were in New York, right?
No. Glory 33 was actually in New Jersey. It was in Trenton. It was at Trenton. So that was awesome.
And 55 was in MSC.
Yeah, exactly. And Glory 55, that one was in New York.
Glory 55, you fight in New York, you're on that card. Your stock keeps kind of going up a little bit. I believe your overall record's what, 5-2?
5-2 now, yes.
5-2. Your stock's going up, like you had won 5 in a row. You kind of like hit a little hiccup. You're getting a little bit of momentum though, and then you know COVID hits, right? Like the pandemic hits. I believe your last pro fight was like October or September 2019 or something like that.
September 2019, yeah.
Yeah. So the pandemic hits. You don't get any fights in 2020. I know if anybody watches Art of MMA, we know you've been itching for a fight. You're sitting there starting to call people out now. But what realistically, now that kind of the pandemic has kind of slowed like the schedule down, obviously Glory took a long time off. They're starting to run events again. Most of them are over in, you know, the Netherlands and things like that, because it's easier for them to get licensed over there for all their fighters. Realistically, what do you kind of expect going forward in your career? Because I know you still want to fight a few more fights. What do you expect going forward in your career? Is it something kind of because of the pandemic, maybe going more to more regional action until the opportunity for something like Glory opens up?
Yeah, so right now, like, yeah, so I mean, I'm like, man, I could go into like just a big
That's why I got you on the show, Brandon.
Nah, so
let it go.
Yeah, no, so actually I was supposed to, so like I said, I was supposed to fight in like June on 2 cards. I was supposed to fight locally. They were going to be in either, I think they were both in Long Island, right? Yeah, no, I'm sorry. One was in Long Island, one was in Queens, right? Both like matchmakers hit me up. They say, hey, you know, we want you on our cards. I give them my information. Next thing I know, it's crickets. I'm not hearing anything. Nobody's saying anything. Apparently, they couldn't get me matched up. So then, like I said, I was supposed to have a fight just recently, like this past weekend on September 11th. You know, the guy was all set up. I was asking for the contract. Next thing I know, the guy backed out. He didn't want it anymore. So yeah, as of right now, we're just doing local, right now, regional, wherever it's playing the waiting game. But I mean, I have no problem traveling, man. Like I mean, I've reached out to promoters down in Georgia. I haven't heard back from them. Like I said, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. I'm just waiting to hear back. You know, if there's somebody here to match me up. I actually just tried to get another fight, hopefully for December. If the one in November doesn't pan out, I'm trying to just have options. And then also too, I got somebody else that I know, they have a connection with another big kickboxing organization, so they might try to get me in there. So I'm just waiting, but I'm just training while I wait.
How does that work? So you're training while you wait. Is that kind of like, do you ever like concern yourself with overtraining? Like to where you break your body down because you've been training so long to get ready to compete? Or are you just kind of like training like your everyday training, and then when it does come like a fight come up, then you kind of ramp it up another level?
Yeah, no, it's the second one. I'm just doing regular training. Like right now, I'm training about three times a week. Instead of doing like every single day, I'm training about 3 times a week. And then I actually stay after with a buddy of mine on another night, and I get another training session in. This way, you know, I can still make sure my conditioning is up to par. And then that way, when that time comes, I can just turn up just a little bit more, and I can be ready to go.
Okay. Right now, what weight are you walking around? Like, where would you want to fight? Like 155 or 170?
No. I was thinking about 170, but I think right now I probably still would go back down to 70 kilos. I mean, I guess maybe too. It just depends on who it is too. You know, maybe see who it is. Like I said, I remember like growing. Well, I guess
like a guy named like Garrick Belay.
Well, he's 154, so he's 70 kilos. So that's the fight where I'd be. But no, I remember like, you know, when I was in my college, watching a guy like King Mo. You know, I used to be like, oh yeah, man, money weight. You know, that's where it is. You know, wherever the money is, that's where I go. So I mean, hey man, hey man, if 170 is an option, you know, and it looks right, like I said, man, like, you know, like I say on the show, man, I'm a prize fighter. So, you know, if the prize is right, let's do it, man. I'm a money weight guy.
So in the past, you were represented by David Fish. I'm gonna go ahead and mix this question in now. I know we talked about it off air, but you're represented by David Fish. He was representing a lot of the Tiger Schulmann guys at the time. But I know now you're kind of on your own. Now, David Fish has kind of moved on to a bigger platform with Paradigm Sports. But what happened? Like, why did that separate? Was it just a timing thing? Was it a circumstance thing? Was there a fallout? What happened with the whole David Fish situation?
I mean, dude, to be honest with you, I don't know the full story. Like I said, because I was just, I guess, like a byproduct of whatever happened. Like I said,
more representing as a group versus individually.
Yeah. Like I would say, like him. I guess him and a couple of his other clients. Maybe, you know, they just went their separate ways. So then I guess that just broke off the whole thing, and then that's when I guess Fish decided to just go work with Paradigm. So he's now doing that, and then everybody else, if they wanted to, you know, they're just now they can go sign with any other company that they want.
I know a few fighters followed him over to Paradigm, right? I know Julio Arce is over there with him. Are any other fighters over there with him from Tiger?
Nah, the only person that I know that went there was Julio.
Okay. So who represents the gym now? Like, or some of the fighters? Like, I know Shane's down there with First Round Management. Mm-hmm. Is it just kind of like all over the map? Like, just all individually, everybody kind of has their own representation now. Yeah. So with Tiger Schulmanns, like especially like with the amateurs, there is an instructor who actually like I guess I'm like, man, I'm trying to think the way how I want to say it, because usually like as an amateur, you know, you gotta like it's like oh, how do you get fights? You know, so kind of manages it a little bit.
Yeah, so it's usually the same person that usually would handle the amateurs, you know, who gets us fights, who says, oh, hey, you know, there's a show coming up. You know, do you guys want to try to get on this? It's the same person who does that for the amateur. Well, I guess there is just the amateurs have their one person, you know, who deals with like either like New Jersey, New York, or like in Pennsylvania, you know, like we call like the PA fight team. You know, they get their people and stuff like that.
So last thing I'm gonna ask you about kickboxing before we kind of move on. You get extremely excited when we talk about it on Art of MMA. And you get hyped up about it. Just talk about real quick, if you can kind of sum it up. Well, actually, I have two questions. I take it back. If you can sum it up, why is kickboxing so exciting for you? Like, why does it drive your passion the way it does?
I mean, to be honest, like I said, man, I grew up on this, man. You know, like I said, I grew up watching ESPN2, all those, you know, all those ISKA events. You know, watching movies like Kickboxer. And, you know, even video games, you know, it's all about the stand up. You know, you're watching kung fu flicks, you know, with Bruce Lee. It's all about the kicking, the punching, you know, doing spinning back kicks, you know, doing tornado kicks, flashy kicks, stuff like that. And like I said, it's just something I've been doing like as a kid, and I just think it's just so cool, you know.
Highlight reel waiting to happen, right?
Yeah, you know, and I just love it, you know. I just love the mixture of just of using hands and feet instead of just being boxing, you know. Like, I mean, which of course I'm a fan of that as well. because it runs in my blood. You know, it's in the family. But
who was your toughest challenge as a kickboxer? Like in your kickboxing career, both amateur and pro, is there like somebody that really stands out that was like your toughest challenge, like the hardest person to figure out?
I'm like to figure out.
I think it's easy for people to say, all right, this guy beat me and that's my toughest opponent or my rival. But sometimes you can figure out your rival. You just may win or not win. But who was like the hardest guy that you got in that ring with and you're just like, I can't figure him out. I can't figure out his style.
Man. You know, I kind of want to say, man, dude, there really is nobody like that. Like I really want to say like all my losses, especially pro, my losses in pro has been, I say my fault. Like I did something that I shouldn't have done, or like I changed something.
Was there somebody like Schaefer or any of those guys that you kind of just couldn't really execute your game plan against? Like they did a good job of like defending your game plan? You know what I was thinking about, like the person who did come into my head that you when you thought about it, and I was like, House or anybody?
Like the person who I probably would say was a little awkward, and he was just funky, and it kind of threw me off, and it made me feel like I had a bad fight, which was the Jason Lee fight, because he was a lefty, and he did have a herky-jerky style, and it really was just an ugly fight, because really like that fight was more like up close in the clinch. I was doing like basically a ton of knees. That's really all I was doing, was like knees and uppercuts. Like I really wasn't using my jabs, my crosses, my round kicks or anything like that. Like I really didn't get to get off. So probably really answer your question, that probably would be the fight right there, would be Jason Lee. So you've never really been shy about it. You've been very open and honest that your faith kind of really defines you as a person. You openly talk about just your beliefs and stuff like that. One of the things I've always respected about you is that you kind of try to lift other people up with you. For a long time, you had the catchphrase, "What do you fight for?" Later on, Tune-Up Crew. Obviously, you're trying to bring in your friends, your family, your fans all together to support you and to support each other, which is I always thought was awesome. Especially like the "What do you fight for?" Catchphrase used back in the day. Was that positive motivation because of your faith? Was that like you trying to lift other people up because of your faith? Actually, man, to be honest with you, I can't take credit for that. That actually was my friend Matt Castillo. He actually came up with that. The whole "What do you fight for?" And I just jumped on it with him, and I was just helping him out, and I was just trying to spread the word, for it. And I remember one time I was wearing a "What do you fight for?" shirt, and I remember I was going I was going to the airport, and I remember a security guard saw the shirt, and he stopped me, and he basically told me his answer for what it is that he fights for, and it was love and family for him. So that one I can't take credit for. That was my good buddy Matt Castillo. Shout outs to him, man. Hopefully he's doing well.
So let's turn that on you. What do you fight for?
Oh man, me.
Because I feel like love, family, I think that's first and foremost for a lot of people, especially as you get older and your family blossoms, you get married, you go on and so on and so forth. What does Brandon Cuttino fight for?
So the answer is I fight for, I feel like I always change it up. Well, not really change it up. It's really three things. I fight for three things. One, I fight because I just like to compete. I like the thrill of it, testing your skill. Second thing I fight for is I fight for my students. The things that I teach them, I want them to know that it works. And I'm doing this against another trained professional. Just imagine what you can do against the average Joe or Joanne on the street, who don't know anything. And then the third thing is, man, I fight for my name, you know, my family name. I want the name Cuttino to mean something. You know, I don't want it to be where the name means, you know, an alcoholic or a bum or anything like that. You know, I want it to mean where it means something.
You want to be remembered for something.
Yeah.
I was going to bring this up later towards the end of the interview, but you already kind of just mentioned it now. So I'll go ahead and throw it out there now for you. What does teaching mean to you? Because you've been teaching for a while along with competing. You teach a lot of the youth, a lot of kids. I'm sure you teach some older adults as well, but you teach mostly I always see you with groups of kids and growing up with kids. And I know you have a passion for that. What does that mean to you, teaching them the next generation, not just about martial arts, but also kind of leading them into life as well?
Oh man, I love it. There's no better joy. I mean, legit, there's no better joy than that, man. Kids are the reason why I why I got into teaching, because I like kids. Adults are cool, even the little ones are cool, but really the kids, the ages between 7 and 12,
when they're wide-eyed and they really want to learn.
Yeah, that's where I'm really grooving in with those kids, middle schoolers. But I mean, the elementary ones, they're cute, as everybody always like to say. They can have their moments, but I just love it, man. I love sharing the knowledge. I love watching people grow. I feel one of my biggest joys is going to grappling tournaments and coaching kids and watching them succeed. Watch them do a submission, or watch them get a position, get their hand raised, get that trophy that they want, that sword or that belt. I just love watching people evolve, become better people than who they were the day before. And I could say, man, I could just do that same, man, for the rest of my life. I'll be happy, man. If I weren't,
I've always been jealous. I've always been jealous of people like you a little bit, because I'm one of those people that I can coach somebody in a sport or a job and train somebody. I can, but I'm really kind of selfish. I'm one of those athletes, or now in my later life, a professional, that I do what I do and I do it well. I can't really show you how to do what I do because you don't bring the same passion as I do to what I do. I kind of related to the whole Michael Jordan, how he's not really a great executive and he can never be a coach, because at some point he's like, give me the ball, I'm going to do it myself. I've always been jealous of people like you, because you have that ability to give back. And I see the pride in your face. I see the pride in a lot of coaches' faces, when it's almost more fulfilling, I think that's the best way to put it, to see somebody you're teaching, somebody you're training accomplish something than almost your own accomplishments, because you gave back not just to one, but now you're giving back to many. So now, you talk about the Cuttino name, anytime any of these kids go up to be somebody famous, say they join the fight team at Tiger Schulmanns, say they become something later, they're always going to be like, yeah, my first guy, Brandon Cuttino. I'm sure the same way you look back at Tiger Schulmann, Ron Schulman, or any of those, Melissa and everybody else you mentioned before, and some of your early trainers, you always remember them as putting the foundation for what you are now. So I've always been a little bit jealous of that. That's enough about that though. Let's move on just a little bit. We might come full circle in a few minutes. But Brandon, you're not just a professional kickboxer. As some people might have noticed over this summer, you also went back. And the thing is going crazy in my mind. I was going back. I never knew you did this to begin with. So before I jump into what you did this summer, let's go back. So you have a relationship with UWA Elite, which is a local promotion in Jersey. I believe they also do some stuff in Pennsylvania too, right?
No.
All Jersey.
Just Jersey, yeah.
So you have a relationship with them, I'll say it like that, that goes back since the beginning of their promotion, right? 20 years, right?
Yeah,
How did you get involved in all that? I know you're a big wrestling fan. We talk about it on the air a lot. But how did you get involved in UWA Elite, which is a local regional wrestling promotion in New Jersey? How'd you get involved with all that to begin with?
Yeah, man. So it goes back to high school. So at that time, like the Hardy Boys did, man. Everybody at the time, they had their backyard wrestling federations, stuff like that. So I remember just there was a wrestling federation that I had found out about. Like, some kid in my school was throwing one, but he was a jerk anyway, man. I would smash his face if I saw him today anyway, because he was one of those kids that didn't like me. So I mean, he wouldn't let me in it, type of deal. So another kid that I met, I think he was actually from the track team. Actually, I don't even remember how I met him. Oh, I know how. It was just another kid that I knew from the school. But he was into wrestling too, and I guess the kid that I didn't like, him and the guy that he ran the show, I guess they split their separate ways. So he started his own, and so his name was Dave Swan. Who's the founder and owner of UWA Elite right now. So my boy Mike Dahl, that's the guy's name, Mike Dahl, also known as Cypress. That's his wrestling name. He got me. He asked me to join, and so that was it. And like the thing was at that time too, like Mike Dahl and all them, like they did their thing. They got me involved. They helped me out, and then after they were all done, saying we leave high school and stuff, they actually still went on. They went and became professional wrestlers, which is something that I had thought about in my mind too, about while I was in college. Oh, that's another thing I didn't say in college too. Actually, in college, I actually found another wrestling promotion, and they were up in Massachusetts. Actually did a couple of shows with them as well. I don't remember the name of the promotion.
Are they still around or no?
Exactly. I don't even know. I don't even
just a local indie promotion.
Yeah. But yeah. So I was doing some things in college too, but now, like I said, but when I came back, back home to Jersey, met up with those guys. They told me, oh, hey, we're doing, actually, no, even in high school, when they were going on and going to shows, they would actually take me to their shows and stuff like that. So I would kind of get to see, how a show was done. Like, I mean, like the ins and outs of like getting there, setting up a ring, breaking down a ring, everything like that. Like, I would see it, watch it, stuff like that. So it was pretty cool, and yeah, like that was really it. Like I say, we would do our wrestling shows every Sunday, it was just cool. It was something that I had looked forward to besides training at Tiger Schulmanns. I had hockey. It kind of kept me busy.
Were they always called UWA Elite, or is that something they evolved into?
So yeah, no. So at the time when they first started, it was just UWA, and then I think then I think it became UWA Elite because they had joined up with another wrestling promotion. I can't remember the name of that wrestling promotion because this all happened when I left for college. I remember because when I came back and I would meet up with those guys, they'd be like, oh, hey, this is like what's going on now. We got these new guys. And they would introduce me. So I would meet them and everything like that. Some of those guys I never got to wrestle with. So I was kind of a little bummed about that because I remember one guy was supposedly the, I guess you want to say the white version of me. So I was like, oh, yeah. And but I dig him, man. He's a cool guy. Love him to death. Cool dude. I mean, I would love to have a wrestling match with him. If they ever asked me back, I would rock out with him. We would have a good one.
So, all right, cool. So talking about coming back, UWA has their 20th anniversary show, July 4th weekend, over the summer. You're originally supposed to fight a guy named Jay Evans, who was
the marquee.
Yeah, I just look at him as a poor man's MJF. Like I'm not trying to bash the guy, but I think everything in wrestling is recycled to some point. It's hard to come up with an original idea in professional wrestling that hasn't been done once, twice, a dozen, 100 times, right? Like Ric Flair wasn't the original Nature Boy. He just took the gimmick and made it. I don't know if he even made it better because the original Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers, was pretty big time back in his day. But yep. Ric Flair now is the Nature Boy, right? He became that. Hulk Hogan is probably like every other big bodybuilder character that ever kind of came before him. Characters like Shawn Michaels might be original then, but now you have everybody wants to be Shawn Michaels, from Chris Jericho growing up to Johnny Gargano now. So I'm not trying to insult Jay Evans. I just don't think he's on that level yet. Maybe he will be in a few years, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. He's the one that backed out of the fight with Brandon. Because I now have a personal story to go with that because of you. And of course, your wrestling character was named Blade. So 2 questions. One, what happened with the Jay Evans thing? Why did he back out? At least what he said publicly anyway. And where did that name, like everybody has a reason for their wrestling name. Where did Blade come from?
Oh, so
and please don't say Wesley Snipes.
I mean that's weird, but no. But going back to your first one, no. Jay Evans actually ended up getting hurt. He actually banged up his knee the night before. So
I'm trying not to say on this episode what I said on the other one of what he hurt. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm saying, man, he banged his knee. He wasn't able to go, so he was out, and somebody else stepped up, and they ended up getting chin checked. So shout outs to Sean Venora of the Golden Era. Apparently he was born better, but he was just born better to catch a knee to his chin. So shout outs to you boys. And then Blade, that's really what it was. Actually, it was from the movie because I was a big Blade fan, big Wesley Snipes fan, but also
Were you a fan of the comic too.
Yes, but also too, actually, have you ever seen the movie Class Act?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So kid's character. Play's character. Play's character is actually named in that show was Blade Brown.
Yeah.
And I just remember I thought to myself, I wasn't sure if I would go with Blade or Blade Brown because I wasn't sure if they were allowed.
Like it sounds off to me for some reason, but you're right, I think.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure if they would let me have the name Blade and like just go with just Blade by itself. So I had Blade Brown in my back pocket and be like, okay, hey, can we do Blade Brown instead? But they were cool with Blade, and Blade just rolled out.
Any chance we see you back in a wrestling ring anytime soon? Because I know you're looking for a fight. The wrestling world is running promotions every weekend.
Hey man,
it's something to keep you busy. I mean, I know you love it. I know it's a passion of you. It's not like you're just doing it to get paid. Like I know you have a passion for it.
Yeah, man. You know what? I let's just say there's some ideas being thrown around. All right,
maybe a longer than a 30-second match.
Let's go with that. Let's just say there could be some ideas on being thrown around.
I'm just saying I haven't received any phone calls asking me to come in and kick your ass.
Because it's not gonna happen.
I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to get chin checked. Nobody, please listen to that. All right, so we talked about the wrestling. While we're on the subject of nicknames, so you're known as the Mechanic professionally in the kickboxing world. Where did the Mechanic come from?
So when I first started fighting, actually, I actually used to be called Showtime. That actually was my nickname. It was Showtime. It actually started back even when I was just in Hackensack and everything like that. Like everybody would just call me Showtime, Showtime. Because like I said, I was always trying to put on a show for the people anyway, be entertaining.
You've always been a really exciting fighter, yeah.
Yeah, but then like at that time, I remember just saying to myself like, oh, you know what? I don't want to be Showtime anymore. The reason why was because just like everybody, like it just seemed like everybody and their mom was being called Showtime. And I was like, I want to be like me. I like being different. So, of course, like I said, going back to wrestling, always been a big fan of Bret the Hitman Hart, my favorite wrestler. Always wouldn't mind being known as the Hitman. But at that same time, I think there was like Hitman fight gear was being worn in the UFC. Some people were the Hitman, like Marcus Campman. He was the Hitman.
Promise Hearns.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh man, like I don't want to just be just a hitman. So then I remember I was watching a boxing match, and I remember the guy talking about like, oh yeah, man, he's going to the body like a mechanic. And then also too, the movie The Mechanic came out that year, and which course Mechanic was another way of saying hitman.
Yeah.
And then also earlier in my amateur fights, my coach at the time, James Garzillo, shout outs to him, one of my good friends as well. He's really helped me out in my career, in my life. So shout outs to him. He actually, before every fight, he used to always say like, oh, when you go out there, be technical. And I was like, well, a mechanic is also a technician. They're technical as well. And so I just remember one day I was just talking to my dad because like I told you before, like we said earlier, boxing is in my blood because my dad, he actually was a pro boxer as well. So I remember just talking to him, and I just brought up mechanic to him. And he liked it. He was like, yeah, Brandon the Mechanic Cuttino. I like the sound of that. And then ever since then, it was like, okay, Mechanic, here we come.
Like you said, it's original. You don't see too many people with that nickname. I think it fits. I think it fits a lot. Real quick before I let you get out of here, a couple quick last questions. Speaking of kickboxing, striking, you mentioned him earlier, Carlos Condit. You've mentioned on Art of MMA a few times how much of a fan you are of Carlos Condit. Of course, he just announced his retirement recently. It'll be a few days before this episode airs. So recently, I'll say that. What did someone like Carlos Condit, you obviously see Donald Cerrone towards the end of his career as well, but what specifically about Carlos Condit was something that like struck you and like drew you in as a fan?
I mean, honestly, man, it was just his style. Like I said, man, dude, his nickname, Natural Born Killer, man. He just went out there, put on performances, go out there, get finishes, had good striking, good kickboxing, like I said, I liked how he was on the ground, with his submissions. And like I say, he was just an exciting guy. I just liked him. And also too, he's just a real humble guy as well, which is what I like to think of myself as being, it's like, yo, you go out there in the ring, you do your thing, but then after you're just a humble, cool, chill dude. Like that's a guy, man.
That's exactly what I think of you when I think of you, humble.
Thank Hey, you're a funny guy, but it's true.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes I have to remember you're the person being interviewed, so I'm just gonna say yes. Now Carlos Condit's always been a class act. I think the whole mixed martial art combat sports world is going to miss him competing. Hopefully he hangs around, does some other stuff as well. But that kind of leads me into the transition. So one of the reasons why we're doing this episode with Brandon is also coinciding with the fact that we have been doing Art of MMA. On September 22nd will be 1 year since Brandon, myself, Sergio DaSilva, the late Sergio DaSilva, started Art of MMA, the podcast. Obviously, Art of MMA has been around since 2013, but we finally got around to doing a show, long overdue. And Brandon was one of the people that was always willing to jump on and do a few episodes to see what happens. Since then, I've kind of, trapped him. He's stuck. He can't get out now. But what has that been like? What is selflessly like stepping out of the box? What has that been like kind of transitioning? Because you've done, podcast shows over the years. You've done a few interviews here and there over the years. But what has it been like kind of like doing it week in, week out, talking about mixed martial arts? Has it kind of made you more in tune with what stuff going on? Or is it just a way for you to kind of like express yourself a little bit more?
I kind of really want to go with the second one. Probably just allows me to express more because it's one of those things where, like, besides teammates, who else do I get to really talk MMA with or martial arts? Because like really like my close friends, they're not into the combat sports. They're into football. They're into hockey. So I don't really have anybody to really talk MMA with. And also too, like I only see my teammates really when I go to train. I don't see anybody else outside anymore because we're just all so busy anyway. So I kind of say it's just a good outlet for me, but also too, I've kind of always probably, dabbled with like just wanting to be good with like media, being able to talk, like it goes back to what I said about going to college, doing marketing. I was doing, public speaking classes, because I knew, hey, if I'm going to be teaching, I got to be able to talk to people. So, and it's just another thing that just helps me out as well. This way, like, hey, when I get those in-ring interviews, I'm ready to go. Like how the last time with Jason Lee and everything like that. It was on Fight Pass.
I know you just really need somebody to challenge you, like Mike. Like you needed that challenge in your life to go toe to toe with you every week. But one of the last things I kind of want to end with before I get you out of here is, I talked about just a second ago. We started the show with Sergio. It's been almost a year now that we've done the show. Unfortunately, he passed away last December, so he only got the first 3 months or so with us, first 12 episodes. I know we did a tribute show, so this is kind of hard to go back for us personally to kind of go to that point. It's football season again, so obviously he's in our mind. Every time we think of Evan Ingram or anything like that, we think of Sergio DaSilva for various reasons. You can see some of it on air. A lot of it happened off of air before, in between shows and stuff like that. For yourself, and I'm not going to speak for me, for yourself, what did Sergio mean to you? And what was that experience like doing the show with him for the first few months while he was still around?
Man, dude, Sergio was just a good guy, man. Like, I remember just on Twitter, man, like he would just hit me up here and there. You know, we would just talk about things. Like, you know, I know he was a big soccer fan. You know, I was into soccer as well, but not as big as him. But even just like, I mean, he was just a real dude, man. Just kept it real. Like, even like my last fight, he was just like, yo, send me the video. I'll watch it and I'll let you know what I think and everything like that. But he was just a helpful guy. You know, all I can say, man, he's just a good guy, man. And then also, man, then just doing the show with him was just awesome because to me, I think like of sports shows that I really like watching, like I love the banter. The banter to me is awesome, is fun. And that's one of the things that he definitely brought, you know, was the banter. So
I feel like for 3 months, people didn't know you spoke because it was always me and Sergio going back and forth and you were just sitting there laughing.
Exactly. Man, I was enjoying it, man. Hey man. I could have been the moderator, man, just sitting back and just enjoying the talk. Some
of my best friends were like, "Do you and Sergio really have beef?" And I'm like, "Nah, Sergio's one of my best friends." Like, it was fun. It was a great time. We had a great time with Sergio going back and forth, the banter, the wealth of knowledge. Like you talk about breaking down, you talk about coaching and teaching, not just MMA, which he did at like the UFC gym in Astoria. He was in talks to kind of do his own thing when he passed. But also coaching. He coached his kids in basketball and other sports. And you can see the way his eyes lit up when he was around the kids. You talk about what you experienced. It's another person I saw experience firsthand how much he loved teaching the next generation and helping them grow. So prayers up to him. We definitely miss you, Sergio. I'm going to end the episode with that. Make sure you tune in on Wednesday. We got our 1-year anniversary, our 50th episode. You'll see more of Brandon Cuttino. He's not going anywhere. Maybe if he has a fight, he might miss an episode or so. We're going to have some special guests on that episode as well. This episode will be dropping the Monday before it. So get you kind of warmed up for anniversary week. Brandon, I do appreciate you taking the time, letting people know a little bit more behind the scenes about you. We never really had done a video interview with you before. It always been the written interviews. So it was nice to get people so they can pull some clips and make me feel worse about how great you are. And I'm just the other guy on the show. So now he's trying to be humble. He's trying to be humble. I don't believe him. He normally is smiling from ear to ear when I make a joke like that. But no, thank you so much for taking the time. Anything else you want to say to the people at home before we get out of here?
Yeah, man. Glory. The passport's still ready, baby. It's good till next year. Let me know, man. I am ready to travel. I don't care, man. Like I said, money, weight. It could be 70 kilograms. It could be 77, depending on who it is. I probably would prefer 70, but hey, I'm available. Hit me up. You know, man, you follow me on Twitter. Hit me up, baby.
Well, with that, I will end this broadcast. Brandon, thank you. And people at home, this is Unfiltered. We'll see you next time.